what I saw was people being captivated by the entertainment that is live sport at the top level.
Welcome to the Halftime Snacks. My name is Ronena Imbindo. This show explores the intersection between sports, business, and technology. Are you ready? Let's go! Coming up next on the Halftime Snacks is a sports business magnate from the UK. He's the founder and CEO of SportonSpec, a company looking to reimagine the Sports-Spectator experience post-COVID-19. This man is a firm believer that all top-level sport athletes deserve the same exposure. His expertise lies in the intersection between sports, experiences, and entertainment, and he's here to snack with us about it. It is an honor and a pleasure to host him in the Halftime Snacks. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Underhill.
Well, thank you, Ronan. Sport Magnet, that's a very good start. I'm very happy with that introduction. Great to be here.
Thank you for snacking with me, team. I want to start right away to talk about spectators and, of course, the main trending topic of today, COVID-19. I want to know, how do you envision the spectator experience once sports are back to full capacity?
Yeah, in terms of what it's going to look like, for first point, I think a lot of clubs, event holders are going to be really keen just to get back on the court, back on the track, back in the venue, hosting live sports. I think for the majority, that's going to be the number one priority because of some, financial reasons. Just getting back doing it and being able to perform and having people in again is going to be something that will be, a focus predominantly. And then I think alongside that, you're going to see the continuation of lots of innovation around different formats, the actual events themselves. So we have missed this year, the 100 in the cricket is an example. We haven't had that, but fingers crossed that'll be back in 2021. There's in horse racing, another sport, there's a new innovation called the Racing League. Once again, we haven't been able to enjoy that this year, but that's kind of a multi-team over 6 weeks in the next summer, a competition with about £2 million prize money, and sort of doing horse racing in a different way, bringing the team aspect and focus on the jockeys and the trainers and making a really sort of family-friendly festival type of event. We've got the Rugby League World Cup coming up in next November. That will be the first time ever with men's and women's and wheelchair events have been brought together, and that's across the UK. So that's going to be, I think, the main multi-event coming back. And then I think, how the experiences are going to change going forward. Clearly, everyone at the moment is reviewing how tech will change things and how tech will change the experience of events. And I think, there's a lot of innovation out there at the moment, all sorts of ways of, I think, understanding that fans, maybe come on to that a bit later, how they're a bit, their needs are different now, and they want to use tech inside a stadium, and they want to be able to relate more, have more content at them, be able to have maybe food and drink delivered to them. And I think that side of things, a lot of it's dependent on 5G. That seems to be the message, but then, and good connection in stadiums. But I think that sort of innovation, and we saw it at the Super Bowl, where they had an augmented reality in the stadium, the top 100 NFL. Another sort of, I think that was a really good best illustration so far of that way of using tech in events. So yeah, I think a long way back, but lots of innovation to come. And into 2022, I think that could be the best year ever for spectator sport. And of course, we've got the Commonwealth Games, which will be the first big multi-event globally, probably since we into 2022, which will allow fully crowds back. So lots to look forward to, but lots of unknowns as well, I think it's fair to say.
100%, team. I believe that the fans want to feel safe when they go back, mostly because of the fear that this global pandemic has created. My guess is that if technology can provide a sense of safety, that's the biggest step that we're going to take towards bringing fans back. as we knew it. I'm really curious, team, to ask you about Sport on Spec, because the company that you run is very oriented towards the spectators. And I want to know, of course, you have a background in music, in the music industry, I saw. How did you came up with Sport on Spec? Like, what's the story behind it?
So yeah, I wasn't previously in the sport industry as such. I was a lawyer, as you say, a solicitor, and then I was in the music business. A good cool way of putting it. It was a company called Monkey Music and preschool music franchising. So I was an operations director there. So those they're sort of very different from being in the sports industry. But I've always had a love of live sport and actually being in a stadium at a venue. I think it's called the absolute reality. I've heard it referred to, which is great. It's where you're sort of there's something quite like being there, and every sense you have is being experiencing this sport that you just don't get unless you're in the venue. So I think what led me into Sport on Spec really was probably London 2012 was a catalyst, the Olympic Games. Fortunate to live, probably 12, 15 miles from the Olympic Park. So it was on the doorstep in London. And, long story short, a lot of people tried to get tickets, came unstuck. Just got, I think, one session. Can't remember the sport, but I remember thinking, oh, wow, well, this is Olympics, greatest show on earth, once every 50 years. So it's like a one-shot opportunity in your hometown. And then, I was having some time off at that time. And what happens, I sort of fell upon a group on social media called the hashtag 2012 tweets. And they're a great group of sort of people that came together really around that time, the same issue of not being able to get tickets for this amazing event, but desperately wanting to go and maybe wanted to take their friends and family as well. It's all around about, how can we go and how can we enjoy it with people? But through that, and that's probably a story for another podcast, how we all got tickets, but it was, fundamentally sort of looking abroad and through authorized resellers of other countries. So completely legit, but a really, a sort of a way round of getting tickets when you couldn't get them here. And that led me to then having this amazing opportunity to go and see sports every day at the Olympics, see some of the most, amazing sport, but also see a real variety of sport. A really good example, one of the people in the group said, why don't you go and see weightlifting as one of the sports you get to see? And I thought, weightlifting? That's a bit different. But sure enough, got a couple of tickets, and there I was suddenly at the Olympic Games watching weightlifting. And you would think maybe people listening to this, I don't think many people listening to this pod will have ever seen weightlifting live. And you probably think, well, I can't really envisage what that would be like, but I don't think it would be very exciting. But trust me, it was one of the great sports experiences I've ever had, because I was lucky in that on this session, which was in a place called the Excel Centre, which was one of the great venues for the Olympic Games. It had judo there, had boxing there, taekwondo. It also had the weightlifting. So there's like about 3,000 people in this massive auditorium. It's a huge place, but it was packed. And there was just so happened on this day that one of the athletes, GB athlete, Zoe Smith, was in action and got to go for the British record. So this was a crowd who people have probably come, some of them would have been die-hard weightlifting fans. The rest were here to be entertained. What's this all about? And it was an amazing atmosphere and it was dramatic. I didn't realise, how dramatic a sport like weightlifting would be, because of course it's very primeval. It's sort of an enormous weight, and you're either going to lift it or you're going to fall over and something terrible could happen. So the whole crowd was aware that this is okay. So it's a British record. We're going to see some history here, and it was it all went quiet. And anyway, she did the lift, broke the clean and jerk record, and the crowd went bananas, absolutely bananas. So then all these other sports that I saw, you would call them, say, I don't like calling them minority sports. I think that has a lot of negative connotation. I'd call them an underrepresented sports, which is they are, because they're great to watch, but they don't get the attention they deserve. So I might be going to see handball or volleyball or canoe slalom or fencing, and all these. Everyone basically, what I saw was people being captivated by the experience, the entertainment that is live sport at the top level. You put that cocktail together, and it's fantastic. And then what happened after the Olympics was, there's an awful lot of attention around it, and kind of it wasn't too long after that a lot of these sports that had captivated the nation were sort of cast aside slightly, and that they didn't get the attention they were getting. And they sort of course, if you don't get the attention, you're going to slip off the radar. But all these athletes were continuing to do their thing, and there was all these championships were still happening, and all around us. But no one was aware of that. So I kind of thought, why isn't there a marketplace? Why isn't there somewhere you can go to say, look, I want to go and see some live sport and be entertained? Why is that not existing? And it's the big, sport is the biggest entertainment genre there is. Arguably it's bigger than music, it's bigger than shows, whatever. It's the number one thing that brings us all together. So I found it puzzling, but also maybe a business opportunity. And so that started the journey of looking into why wasn't this happening? How could we create this? What would it take? And delving into the world of sport. Because, of course, not being from the world of sport, had to sort of learn the industry like with anything. And so it's a kind of very long learning curve. But ultimately, I think that this is something that needs to happen. And there's a massive audience for it.
That's a fascinating story, Tim. I want to ask you about the business model and the funding strategy that you have in mind for SportonSpec.
The problem we're trying to solve is that there's a huge amount of live sport going on and a lot of unsold inventory, tickets, places to go. And weekly across any number of events, that is an issue. And if you speak to clubs or event holders, the number one reason always pops out awareness. We've got there's a great product, say, for want of a better expression. It's a great experience to be had, but they can't get the word out beyond their, probably have a base of diehard fans, as I mentioned. But beyond that, this sort of more casual fan, sort of people at the Olympics, etc., they can't get the word out to that. So there's an issue on that side. And then on the other side, you have the fans, the people who, we're now in the realms of the experience economy, where more and more people want to go and do. I mean, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, of course, so we can't have our experiences. It's all different type. But when we get through this, you are in this situation, experience economy. People want to more and more. It's hardwired to go out and socialize and do things with friends and family and have a shared experience and be entertained. So, but that audience out there does not know what's going on. So how can they go and experience it? So, if you go and look on the web, the information is very fragmented, or it might not even, be in sort of a decent format at all. You can't go to one place. So therefore, you can't find out how can you get a ticket, etc. So that's how we want to solve it. And of course, being in the middle of that, you're then in a business model of being around a ticketing, a ticketing affiliate, or also something we're looking at is a subscription model, which is really interesting, where you could pay different level of tiers for subscription, and then you could access promotions on tickets, or you could access an opportunity to have a flat fee and go to a different set of sports that you could pick and choose from any range of sports. But there's a lot of opportunities of how you bundle things up. But fundamentally, it's around that unsold inventory and how you solve that. And then, of course, on top of that, you've got data opportunities, there's sponsorship, and there's advertising. But that's really how the model would work. And then to your second point, the funding side, again, we're in a situation where, okay, this is, the COVID's been really interesting in enabling us to sort of sit back and think, okay, this is what we've done to date, and then we've established a track record in London and Scotland. There are two bases, and around the cities, Glasgow and Edinburgh, and then London. And so, okay, going forward, how's everything going to look when sport comes back, and how can we really then be part of the assisting and working with clubs and event holders to get people back into venues? That requires a funding. I mean, I'm glad you've asked the question, Ronan, because that is something that requires significant funding with all these situations where you have a structure and a route, but you need to have the capital injection to then scale, to build the tech, to build the staff, to build the audience, test, etc. So that's something we'll be looking to do later. We're looking at the moment putting a pitch deck together. Now we've sort of think, as far as you can in these times, right? This is what it all looks like. This is how we can we can be in the business model and how we can and work with sports. So that's going to be ready pretty soon. So if anyone listening to the podcast wants to reach out to me, feel free on LinkedIn or on the social media, Tim the Jap. By all means, I'm happy to talk to people.
People listening here are lucky because Tim is still available. Later, he might not be, but I feel like SportonSpec is on a great spot because it's basically about predicting what the outcome of the experience is going to look like. And if you have enough evidence or if you have enough knowledge on the entertainment or experience business, which you have, and you know how people will demand, what will people want from the new experience, then creating a structure or a framework for experiences post-COVID will actually be the winner. And I'm looking forward for that, Tim. And I want to ask you a little bit more about like the technology that you guys use. Is there something special or specific about SportonSpec that you guys are leveraging? Or are you guys focusing more on the marketing or the experience side of the business? What can you tell us about the tech side?
Yeah, sure. So I think when the shutters came down in March, it was an interesting time to see. Okay, how do you play that in terms of there's things a lot of people would say, well, you might pivot, you might move towards doing content online, trying to is there a way of joining the broadcast side of things? But I've always felt our niche really has to be the live event. That's the long-term play. That's what there is no other marketplace for the live event, and that's what I feel underpins personally. Without fans, you've got to have fans, and you've got to understand the fans. So in terms of how we use tech, I mean, we're now in a position where we're starting to partner with sports, and I think the way we will leverage it until we build, as we fund and we build the platform out, then clearly being in tech, being on social, being on digital. So having the website and being on social media and understanding where the fans are, and we're looking to do a podcast into the new year. As sport comes about, we're looking to have the newsletter. So all these channels is where we now, we're looking to move into those, and as sport comes about, work with the clubs to showcase them via that technology, if you like. So as an example, a little exclusive for you today, for the pod, what I've always wanted to do is get, with clubs and event holders, is really get behind the scenes and start sort of doing a little bit more than just promoting their events. So as an example, there's a team, London Pulse, who are a netball team in London. They're London's pro netball team who play in the Vitality Super League, which is the top UK club league. Their season starts in February. So for next month in December, we're going to be doing some content piece with them, whereby we can sort of showcase who are all these amazing players, because they've got a great international and young, rising stars and international roster they just put together. But so we could, get behind and who are these players? How do they train? What do they like doing? Understanding more about the personalities, so that when they come back and they start playing, we'll know them a bit better and be incentivized to go and to watch, because they play in the Copper Box, which is an amazing venue in the Olympic Park. People would go in the Copper Box just to see the Copper Box, because it's an amazing place to go, and the views are incredible and the atmosphere is great. So it's a great night out or afternoon out, depending when the fixtures are. But so we're not, in terms of tech, for me, it's at the moment it's around where are the fans, how can we engage them on digital, on their phones, on their desktops, while we're on the road back. And then, and that will always be, I think, an important side for us, because that's how, the people want to be, tantalized and shown a bit more than just, oh, here's where you can go, boom, boom, boom. Why would I go and where's my connection? So, that's our sort of next few months.
I appreciate the exclusive, of course. I am very curious, team, to know if there are one or two specific lessons that you've learned through SportonSpec about fans in general, or about like their behavior, or like their needs, what they want? Is there something from working with these teams, or from learning about specific things about people that are looking for entertainment? Is there something that you've learned through Sport on Spec?
A lot of the knowledge I've got actually comes from ever since, London 2012, really going to a lot of different sports and to watch the action, to understand what we would be promoting, but also to watch the people there, the fans, who are there and what gets them excited. So during COVID, one of the really interesting things has been for me listening to a whole range of podcasts and following newsletters, of course, your podcast being a good example, and learning from all over the globe what different perspectives are on the fan. And there's a phrase, there's a concept in America, Sport Innovation Lab, they call it the fluid fan. What the fluid fan is actually what I've seen. So the fluid fan is kind of this digital native where everyone's sort of not just millennials or Generation Z, but pretty much everyone now. It's on a smartphone, and they kind of break it down to three things: that a fan is open to change, which means they have they're open to trying things out, but they've got a lot of choice. They're empowered to choose, which is this issue. Well, I've got lots of things I can be doing. There's a zillion and one things I can do with my leisure time, and then continuously evolving. So, their habits are shifting all the time. And I think that's where I think the real opportunity is for, say for Sports-Spec and being in the marketplace, that every sport has its diehard fan who will go come what may. And every sport I speak to says, yeah, we've got our diehard fans for sure, but we want to reach out beyond that. There's all the other fans who would enjoy this. Casual fans, new fans, people who've never heard, but that's who we need to reach. So I think understanding, from my point of view, this is the big play. It's like, okay, if you agree with that, then that is a massive opportunity. But then you've got to win by understanding where they are, and then getting to the right places and giving them reasons to come along, because they've got to give up their time and their money. So you've got two things. It's not, they're not spying something; they're coming and spending an evening. So you've got to get over those hurdles. But what I also know is that once they get to a live sport, they will invariably love it. So I'll give you three sort of examples of random sports I've been to, not at all expecting what to see, and then what I've observed. So one, roller derby; two, chess boxing; and three is drone racing. I'm probably the only person you'll speak to that has been seen all those three live. So I don't know what that says about me, but there you go. But so roller derby, and they're all very different experiences, very different audiences, but everyone who I've gone has had a great time at the event. Your roller derby is a Canadian sport, women only. I think men are starting to get involved now. It's kind of like rugby on roller skates, and it's played in London, it's played in Scotland, and it's in these gymnasiums. They get 2,000 or 3,000 people in, and it's just a bit of a riot. But it's actually very physical, very skillful when you start to understand the rules. But it's a great sort of party atmosphere, and it's similar to the chess boxing, which is where you have essentially, as it sounds, you literally have speed chess for a set amount of time, and then that's in the ring, and then the speed chess comes out, and the players put the gloves on. 3 minutes boxing, and they rotate it, and the winner is the first player, the first athlete who you've got to either knock out your opponent or stop them or checkmate them. So it's. And I just thought that was crazy I'm a boxing fan. I thought that's a crazy mix. And then I went to see it live, and the audience was really interesting. It was kind of a night out in a sort of music venue in North London, and people were having a great time, just sort of social. But then it came on, and there were actually passionate chess fans who'd been drawn on, and it was a great event. And as was the drone racing. I mean, you might be familiar with drone racing, which is American scene, World Drone Racing League, came to London, the Ali Pali, year before last, I think. And that was extraordinary to go and watch. And that was sort of almost like being at sort of some sort of motor racing event. You know, this speed roller drone racing flying around the halls of Ali Palace, huge venue. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the sport itself. I mean, you go back. You did touch on the fact that people want safety, which is right. There are actually the core four things around live sport, which is what I've come to realise, and that's on the research. But what I've seen is what people want effectively to enjoy sport, which is, you know, to be entertained, to see something at the highest level and to see people excelling in their sport, to have a great view and to be in a safe, comfortable venue and to have a great atmosphere. So if you start with those four, which an awful lot of sport pretty much delivers, then on top of that, you have the tech play. People, yes, now they want more. They want to be engaged in other ways as well. So you build that, which is all coming. So that is what I've come to learn and seen and demonstrated in my own eyes is what is the opportunity and what fans. I think fans are shifting, and I don't think sometimes I hear different opinions. I think there's a reluctance to accept that fans are quite so fluid now, but that I think is the reality, and I think that's here to stay. And you might have a great night out, but how are you've got to get to these people and present it and get them in, and then they will love it. But you've got to battle on, and so that's the challenge.
That's awesome, Tim. I've never in my life heard about the three sports that you mentioned, but now I can't wait to sit on my couch, put some YouTube videos about chess boxing and drone racing, because I feel like it will be so exciting, and it also sounds super disruptive in terms of like what we're used to. I feel like you have a very good sense of what fans are looking for, their motives, and the type of people that are looking for the entertainment provided by sports. And that's one of the multiple reasons why I think that Sport on Spec is going to be very successful, and I wish you the best of luck on that. And I think that's a great place to wrap today's conversation, and I want to thank you so much for joining me. I learned so much about you. You're a great guy, and I'm sure you're going to have lots of success, and I can't wait to see what you do and where you get to. I wish you the best of luck, and I wish that we can meet up in the future to talk more about sports and about technology and about everything else. So thank you very much, Tim.
Well, Rowan, thank you for having me. It's been great. Really enjoyed talking. Take care.
Before you leave, I want to thank you for listening. To hear these or any other halftime snack, check out the full archive on my website, which you can find on the show notes. See you next week.